Of the rally, stage running from Auckland to Kidal, as we saw from the bikes, long, fast, straight sections. And here, getting ready for the off, Hubert Oriol, the Terry Sabine organisation chief, waving off the cars. Now the cars starting in groups of 10 at 5-minute intervals for safety reasons, whereas the bikes all started off en masse. And just look how that buggy of Jutta Kleinschmidt powers past the Mitsubishis. Bruno Sabi leading the pack in third overall at the moment, but Jutta Kleinschmidt on board with Jean Bouter.
200 kilometers fast like that.
Yes, we were told this would be.
Yes, we are leading the race at the moment. So the Mitsubishis are behind us.
Jutta, go right, go right, go right, go right. Please, shooting, please.
More right.
So Jutta and Jean Boutin, who first paired up in the 96 Dubai Desert Challenge and finished fourth. It's Bruno Sabi, third overall. Jean-Pierre Fontenay, the rally leader for Mitsubishi, and Kenjiro Shinizuka, sixth on the special after having a puncher, 150 kilometers from the end of the stage, but he keeps his second overall. Jutta Kleinschmidt in great form with this Seat V6 powered engine. As we saw earlier, Jean-Louis Schlesser putting in full force of all his assistants behind them, and it has paid off handsomely today. Bruno Sabi again in this fantastic landscapes as the rally crosses the border from Niger after 3 days, going back into Mali. He's followed by Fontenay and Kleinschmidt running with them all the time. She's passing the Mitsubishis later in the stage. Incidentally, all three Mitsubishis having had back axle problems, overheating. They're using the T3 axles from the 1996 cars. But Jutta's fourth on the special today, sixth overall. And now only 2 minutes, 30 seconds behind fifth place, Salvador Servia. But Gerard Sarrazin rolls his Toyota and it burns out. This is the man who won T1 yesterday and was 16th overall when this happened. Sarrazin saying, well, I was fighting with other cars because I was a bit late. It was my own fault. I went off the piste a bit too fast. Went over 2 hills flying, but on the third hill the car rolled, and 10 minutes after we got out it just burst into flames. Well, luckily they're not hurt, but that car is not going anywhere. Well, this is one of the Niger-Mali villages on the border crossing. Villagers turning out in this northern part of the Sahara, close to the Aya Massif, the Aya Mountains, where the Tuareg troubles have kept tourists away for the last few years. Carlos Sousa, Mitsubishi T1 leader, winning T1 again today. 12th overall on the special and 12th overall in the rally. Duarte Guedes from Nissan, the Lisbon businessman. He's heading for Nissan's first ever Dakar special stage win in the Desud Nissan Patrol GR. 11th overall in the rally, driving with Daki Dubois. And what a great performance. 46 years old, they were 6th on the 95 Dakar, and now their first stage win. Maurizio Trallio, Nissan, also 33rd in the special and 9th overall. And again we pick up with Guedes, who amazingly has headed everybody, while Jutta and the Mitsubishis have been fighting out their battle. He took a different route and got ahead of the whole lot of them. Bruno Sabi, second on the special, 55 seconds behind Guedes, and Fontenay, third, leading overall by 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Well, it's a big day for Duarte Guedes, the Portuguese, and his friend, Spaniard Salvador Servia. Servia in 5th place, but absolutely delighted to hear about Guedes' success today. So 2 days running, first time stage winners on the Dakar. And here comes Duarte Guedes to meet up with Servia.
Impeccable. Je savais que plutôt de moi. Et sur les pistes, là, je vois des parallèles. L'homme doublé sur les parallèles, c'est dommage.
Servia telling him they are quick pistes. Well done.
I feel wonderful. It's fantastic, fantastic. What's happened to your windscreen behind? You can see it's pockmarked.
Oh, that's what happened when you fight against Fontenay. we had a little fight about kilometer 300, and passing and overpassing and so, and a lot of rocks, and that's what happens. That's the result of a fight.
So a big day for Nissan today, their first ever stage win in 19 years of the Dakar. Well, some of the other runners, Joanne Lemos and Karine Duret, the ladies team in their Nissan, going through their 39th in the special, and Claude Arnoux there in his buggy, 38th on the special and 27th overall. Some of the pitfalls today for the unwary. Dominic Hussiot for Nissan, 25th overall. As we look at the results of the special stage today, so Duarte Guedes winning that stage by 55 seconds from Bruno Sarbi, Jean-Pierre Fontenay and Jutta Kleinschmidt. He must be feeling very proud of himself. Hiroshi Matsuoka there in the long wheelbase Challenger, 5th on the stage. But it doesn't affect the overall positions because Fontenay still leading by 6 minutes from Shinizuka, Sarbi 7 minutes and catching up fast. Matsuoka 4th and Salvador Servia for Nissan in 5th place. Well, the truck race continuing apace, and bad news today for Carol Lopez, a 3 times truck winner on the Dakar. He's got problems. His Tatra Marathon has a broken intercooler pipe. It needs welding. But the problem is both his teammates and his service crew, all running trucks with spares, have retired. We talked to Astamil Kuchera.
We try to repair it, but it will be very, very difficult. And we do our best to repair it, but we cannot go so fast, and therefore perhaps we will finish our race today. We will see in the afternoon. It's end.
So a very upset Kuchera, co-driver to Lepres, not as the caption said. Well, Michel Sommet on the Scania support truck stops to see if he can help. They show him the problem. He can do nothing. He's got no welding equipment, so Michel Sommet continues. All very good-natured, though. As the third member of the 3-man crew here with Carol Lepre said, well, nothing we can do. Let's have a quick look at where the Tatras come from. This is the factory near Prague where they make the trucks and the tractors. And, of course, they used to build those wonderful Tatra cars. A friend of mine in Plymouth, John Nichols, has one of those beautiful 1950s limousines. Well, here's Carol Lepre getting on board at the factory test track. Giving it a shakedown prior to the Dakar, but it's sadly tonight that the Tatra effort has finally fallen to bits. If he is out indeed, then all 4 trucks out of the 19th Dakar. Well, amongst the mass starts was the truck of Johan Peter Reif in the Hino. And just look at the acceleration from that 4x4. He runs in the under 10 litre class, whereas the Tatra's 19 litres. So the truck race really coming to bits now. The Hino looking like they're going to take a 1-2, because behind Johan Peter Reif will be Joseph Petit in the second Hino, one we've seen quite a lot of. This is Edmond Pellichet, one of the Mitsubishi support trucks. Racing themselves, but still having to carry spares for the cars. And again, Reif in that Hino. In good form in the desert. Makes the stage finish. And puts the Japanese Hino constructor further and further ahead in the truck event. Well, a quick look at how the Terry Sabine organisation, which runs the Dakar Rally, gets together. This is their C6 organisation car. They have to be about 2 days ahead of the rally all the time, setting up checkpoints and bivouacs in advance of the cars. Also check landing strips where they can land the television and press planes, and of course the Fokkers, which have the hospital facilities on board. It's a well-oiled routine, it goes up quickly. Well, they also have to check the routes 2 days ahead. Changes are made to several stages over the weekend. It's now rumoured that one of these course cars was actually stolen by bandits in the north of Niger. And that's why they changed the routes. Well, this is mission control inside the Fokker F27, run by race director Patrick Zanaroli. He himself, 1985 Dakar winner for Mitsubishi. Now, he's become a gamekeeper. Patrick Zanaroli telling us about how it works. Said, well, we coordinate the rally from the PC course, which is what we call mission control. We check the medical facilities are in place, the helicopters are in the right place, and we have to make sure that all our checkpoints, all our controls, marshals, everything is in the right place at the right time. Of course, we do it all by radio, satellite telephones, and well, it's all done with safety and sporting regulations in mind. Jordi Arcaron's one of those coming through the checkpoint, gets a stamp, little stamp goes on the sleeve to prove they've been there. Angelo Fumigali from Italy on a Suzuki, one of the few Suzukis in the event. He passes through. As we see the control cars talking to each other, saying, right, who's come through? They report back to base, say who's come through, and Zanaroli and his crew note it down. Incidentally, this is a local entry. He won't wash for weeks. Well, the Dakar continues apace. It's far from over yet. Agadez Dakar Rally of 1997. The big stories today. Jean-Pierre Strugo wins his first special for Mitsubishi. Philippe Alliot still running, 13th overall and 3rd in T1, while Kenjiro Shinazuka retakes the lead of the rally for Mitsubishi. Another first today, American Jimmy Lewis wins his first bike special for KTM. Oscar Gallardo on the Cagiva is second on the special and stays in 3rd overall. Behind Petter Hansel and Arcarons. Here is Petter Hansel, Stefan Petter Hansel, still leading despite only 4th on the special. Well, here's scenes from Timbuktu. The rally's come back again, and we're now 2/3 of the way through the 8,500 kilometre marathon. Well, let's have a look back at yesterday's events. This was Tuesday, January the 14th, the stage Oklan in Niger to Kidal in Mali, a special stage of 537 kilometres, a lot of navigation, 400 kilometres of it totally off-piste, and a massed start for cars, 10 at a time. And this man, Portugal's Duarte Guedes, won the special. The first for him, the first for Portugal, and the first for Nissan. Bruno Sabi second on the special, but he stays in 3rd overall, and he's being raced with by Jutta Kleinschmidt in her Schlesser, 4th on the special, 6th overall. 2 minutes behind, 30 seconds now behind Serbia after her victory on special stage 9 the day before. Jean-Pierre Fontenay also mixing there, but this man in big trouble. Gerard Sarrazin in the factory Toyota Land Cruiser burned out after rolling. Terry Magnaldi out also after breaking his engine on the rocks. His 4th retirement in the last 4 Dakars. But Jordi Arcarons wins his first special this year for KTM, keeping 2nd overall. And this man, the professor, the Schumacher of the desert, Stefan Peter Hansel, keeps his lead for Yamaha. But Carol Leprez, the 2nd man in the trucks for Tatra, is confirmed out now with a broken intercooler pipe. He was 2nd, and now he leads 1, 2, 3 with this man, Johan Peter Reif, out in front. Well, a lot of bad dunes yesterday, as you can see from our pictures from the desert last night. Well, another man in big trouble yesterday, Henri Pescarolo, the record number of participations at Le Mans behind him. His Mitsubishi lost 4 hours after holding its radiator. He had to wait for 2 hours for someone to come along water and dropped to 34th. But it's so Noshiro and her Mitsubishi. She has rolled it. The Japanese lady and her co-driver, Cyril Guyamoke, And would you believe they later continue? Everyone happy to see the little Japanese lady is alive and kicking. Well, sadly, one of the bikers excluded from the event is Ando Hideaki. The doctors have told him he's got to quit because he is totally exhausted and he is out of the event.
No tired. Why? No tired. No tired.
No, I'm not tired, he says. But just look at the state of him. Typical of the Dakars. Puts his Ayrton Senna helmet on and heads back to Japan. So the rally leaving Niger after 3 days, heading back into the mountains of northern Mali, where the Mares tribe, on the branches of the Tuaregs, greets the rally with local song and dance. Well, yesterday's big story, of course, was the first ever stage win by Portugal's Duarte Guedes for Nissan. When he got to the bivouac in Kidal last night, the first man he met was his compatriot Carlos Souza, the Mitsubishi T1 leader. Also meets Jutta Kleinschmidt, she herself stage winner on Monday. He on Tuesday, a first for both of them. Well, Guedes is 46 years old, from Lisbon. He told us how it went.
Well, I'm Portuguese. I was born in Lisbon. I live in Cascais, which is near Lisbon, 20 kilometers. And I started with racing cars 10 years ago.
Well, he was sixth last year on the Dakar with Jackie Dubois. His first Dakar was in 1994. They raced the Desud Patrol.
Knows that desert is very important for me. It was very important since the first day I came. And as far as the races are here in the desert, they know it's very, very good to me. So they are happy about it.
So a very happy Portuguese gentleman there, Guedes and Dubois, 11th overall on the Dakar.
Desert for me is a school for life because you feel very small very often, and that can be it's a very good attitude to life, and I feel it that way. It's a family, the Dakar, for me. I feel really at home.
So salute to Duarte Guedes, winner of yesterday's stage. We're going to take a short break, come back, we'll see what happened today. On Eurosport, you join me, Mark Cole, to look at today's stage. Stage 11, Wednesday, January the 15th, from Kidal to Timbuktu, all in Mali, 577 kilometers. Well, the stage is called Follow the Gazelles. It goes through small mountains and valleys. There's dense vegetation, and particularly there is camel grass before they get to a sandy finish. Well, this is the off this morning from Kidal. Very small city up in the north of Mali, and a long, long, hard route ahead of them. Well, the man who's been leading the rally since day one, Stefan Petansel on the Yamaha France entry. 7 stage wins, but it's not going to be today, because this man, Jimmy Lewis, on the KTM, the Californian who loves riding on garbage, as he told us, starts 4th overall this morning, and by tonight takes the stage win. More on Lewis in a moment. Well, this is Eric Bernard. No, not the Eric Bernard. Another one, KTM on board. Says it's okay, it's going well. Well, 135 kilometers I'm doing. This second part of the rally is less difficult. But now today you've got to watch out you don't hit your head on branches. Jürgen Mayer on the KTM, European Enduro champion several times, 8th on the special today, and 7th overall on the rally. And this is Manuel Marques. He's Portuguese, he's on his KTM, and we picked up what he's got to tell us. I'm between controls, he said. I'm looking for the second control.
C'est bien passé et comme ça quand tu vas mieux en navigation tu peux attaquer un pilotage. C'est ça ce que tu peux faire, c'est attaquer un pilotage.
Well, it's good fun, he said. It's good for riding, soft sand, but it's very straight lines. Well, here's one of the quads we saw the other night. This is the Yamaha quad of Daniel Gigout. He was 59th when he started this morning. And here's Jean Brucy, KTM on board. Winner of the experimental class today and 11th overall. Well, I've had a big leak, he said today. I'm very worried. Let's hope it holds out. As you can see today, conditions are much better than they were 2 years ago. There's no problem. I fell then because my riding was too tight, perhaps. You have to ride in conditions like this much more relaxed, much more easily.
Là, il n'y a pas de problème. Mais pour la petite histoire,
no problem.
Je tombais car mon amortisseur de direction était beaucoup trop serré pour rouler dans le sable mou tel que c'était à ce moment-là. Alors, à bientôt.
Okay. See you soon, he says. Oscar Gallardo on the Cagiva, 3rd overall. Behind this man, de Azevedo. Well, riding together now. Here is Gallardo coming in just ahead of Jordi Arcarons. That is Arcarons there, the number 2. 2nd overall this morning on the KTM. Spaniard with his friend Carlos Sotelo there. Also from Spain on the Cagiva. Winner of Special Stage 7 earlier in the rally before the weekend. David Castera as well.
Uma prova dura, mas se a gente vem preparado, é bom constatar que podemos fazer alguma
Manuel Marques after winning that stage.
Jean, qu'est-ce qui se passe là? Il se passe que mon cadre est cassé, il y a une
Jean
soudure qui est
Brucy,
lâchée. Alors hier, ça se sentait
11th on the special, 11th overall, telling us well, the frame's broken. That's what's happened. Mitsubishi's given me some assistance and solved up the leak. One of my fluid pipes goes through the tubes, but in fact it seems to have made it worse. Guido Moletti, Italian Kawasaki rider, 7th overall this morning, but outside the top 20 tonight after problems. Said it was okay, said it's worked well, but I've arrived here for refueling and now it won't start again. Well, more on that problem in a moment. Because he's not the only one afflicted. Britain's John Deacon too, as you'll hear. Well, Marques rides away. Moletti's still trying to get that bike started. There's Carlos Sotelo now. He's been delayed by a broken shock absorber, but manages to move up to 13th after Moletti drops back. David Castera been following him and reported the smell of shock absorber oil, then discovered it was from Sotelo just ahead of him, and who's crashing the back of the bike into the sand. Well, Jimmy Lewis, 28 years old, he's editor of Cycle World in California, from Costa Mesa in California. He's 5 times American National Enduro champion, 6-day trialer for the US team, and this is his 2nd Dakar. Here he is. Last year he withdrew with dehydration, but Lewis now winning the special by 9 minutes 10 seconds, keeping 4th place, and he's within 16 minutes of 3rd place Oscar Gallardo with 4 days still to go. That was Peter Hansel. And this is Acheron's 5th on the special and 2nd overall. But Petter Hansel's built that lead to 1 hour 29 minutes. David Castera, 3rd on the special and 5th overall. And Oscar Gallardo, 2nd on the special and 3rd overall. Well, the big news tonight about Plymouth's John Deacon, the KTM rider, 15th on the special and 20th overall. But he and Maletti and several others had an almost near disaster today. When they stopped to refuel, they were given kerosene meant for the helicopters in their bikes. They all had to empty their tanks and refuel again before setting off for the remainder of the stage. Well, John told us in all we were there for about an hour, but I was lucky that Yoshio Ikumachi spotted it because I'd already put the filler cap back on, was ready to go. Well, the organisers have arranged for these competitors to receive a time dispensation to allow for time loss. So John 15th on the special and 20th overall, as we said, moving up. Ian Graham, KTM from Carrickfergus, he started 39th this morning. Haven't heard yet where he's arrived by the time we went on air. Well, there's the rankings. Lewis winning that stage from Gallardo and Castera. Petter Hansel just taking it a little bit easier, 11 minutes 41 seconds behind, but you can see his lead now absolutely massive. 1 hour 29 minutes, and Oscar Gallardo 2 hours and 19 minutes back. Petter Hansel heading obviously for his 5th win, unless something goes seriously wrong. We've talked to John Deacon, Ian Graham. Let's have a look now at the 4 Irish riders who all started together. Dick Fair for Honda, Vinny Fitzsimon for CCM, Adrian Lappin for CCM, and Nick Craigie for CCM. 4 friends who decided they'd do their first ever Dakar together, having watched it on television for years. Well, 59 there, Vinny Fitzsimon on the CCM. Unhappily, he is out of the rally now. So too is Nick Craigie on the 61 bike. But Dick Fair on his Honda was 61st today. And Adrian Lappin was 46th when he started this morning. We talked to Adrian Lappin.
Ever since I've been riding schoolboy motocross, I've been really small. I've always watched the Dakar Rally on television, and it's been my dream to ride in the Dakar Rally and hopefully finish it someday. So this year, just along with 4 other Irish riders, we've decided that this would be the ideal opportunity to have a go.
They're on CCM bikes, which are built in Blackburn, of course, and Adrian tells us how this all came about and what the differences are from the enduro bikes that CCM are famous for.
This is a 600cc CCM rally bike. It's especially built for the Dakar Rally. It uses the latest 50mm Marzocchi Magnum front forks. And also one other major difference between this machine and other machines on the market today is CCM's own special design of rear suspension. It uses a white power rear shock absorber, but unlike most conventional bikes, there is no linkage in the shock absorber. The shock mounts directly onto the top of the swinging arm. This has proved very maintenance-free and also a very functional design. I'd just like to get the next week to come in with as little trouble as possible and hopefully make it back to Dakar with no problems and make it back in one piece. And hopefully we'll celebrate in Dakar once we both make it back.
So Craig and Fitzsimon out, but helping their teammates. So we do wish Dick and Adrian all the best. May they make Dakar. Also, John Deacon and Ian Graham. Only 4 days to go.
Back to the Dakar Rally with Mitsubishi Motors Corporation.
We're back on the Dakar. We're still on stage 11, Kidal to Timbuktu, and this is the car story. Well, this is the scenes on the windscreens. Duarte Greddy's Nissan, after being running behind Jean-Pierre Fontenay yesterday on the stage. He got showered. Well, Guedes tells us more about yesterday's win.
For
me, he said, even if I won the stage, it was just another stage on this long, long Dakar. So this morning's start, soon going amongst the rocks and that camel grass catching out the bikers more than the cars as we pick up Carlos Souza behind Jutta Kleinschmidt, Kenjiro Shinazuka in the Mitsubishi. He started second this morning. and Bruno Sabi. Here is Shino. He was 6 minutes 5 seconds down on rally leader Fontenay when they left this morning. Could he improve on it today? Well, Hiroshi Masuoka in the Mitsubishi Challenger starting fourth. As we join Eduardo and Riccardo Argazzi on board their 2 Nissan. Well, this car is like a woman, he said. We have to be very careful with it. The car is a real T2 category car. So it's fairly hard. We have to take it easy because if we hit bumps, we could break it. We need to negotiate the corners very, very carefully.
Très calmement. Alors, vitesse de pointe ici, je regarde chez mon frère.
I have to look after my brother too here beside me. 145 kilometers they're reporting.
I think it's the spirit of TSO.
Jean-Pierre Strugo wins the special by 3 minutes 18 seconds and tells us, well,
Monday Utah, yesterday Duarte Guedes, today us. I think it's very good for the rally, and for the other it's an example. Now not everybody, but many concurrents may win a stage. That's a big fun.
So if you can grasp all that, saying it's brilliant that the last 3 days Jutta, Duarte and himself have beaten the heroes in winning stages. This is Pornswan Sidi Watakanun from Thailand in his Mitsubishi, second on the special, amazingly behind Strugo and 8th overall. Well, Jutta Kleinschmidt having GPS problems, changing direction. In fact, she does a 180-degree turn and goes back the way she came. 5th on the special at the moment, and that's where she will finish tonight. But she finds the right way and goes through, but problems for Bruno Sabi. He's stopped to help a crashed biker. The problem not for him so much as the bikers, and he will lose 11 minutes and 17 seconds because of his goodwill action. Well, Kanjiro Shimizuka retakes the lead with 3rd on the special. Remember, Strugo won it by 45 seconds over Jean-Pierre Fontenay, who was 6th on the special after slowing and waiting for Shino. Here is Shino, so that would suggest to us that team orders are now in existence and that Ulrich Bremer, the team manager, would like to see a Japanese win for the Japanese manufacturer. I'm saying nothing at the moment, but that's just guesswork. Here's Kleinschmidt moving up to 5th overall after passing Salvador Servia. We talked to her at the end of the stage.
Today when I passed kilometer 60, the 2 Mitsubishi was stopped on the left side and was waiting for Shino. So for me, I think they decided that Shino win. I'm not sure, but it looks like.
You say waiting. I mean, what were they doing?
Nothing. Staying on the piste and waiting. The car was stopped. Both was 90 degrees to the piste, and I was making this when I passed. So.
Who's going to win?
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, all together moved.
Team strategy intriguing everybody. We asked Jean-Pierre what is the strategy for the next day. But don't ask me, he says, I'm not the team manager, I'm a driver. We just have to keep the car in good shape. We'll see. Bruno Sabi, we said, I think on the stage like this, it's better we're careful with the car and just play the game with the team.
We just defined, and I think it's normal at the end of a race where 3 cars are leading, a very precise strategy for our stage. And we will do certainly the same tomorrow. I hope that we can also publish a team order tomorrow.
But from what we've seen today, I suggest that those team orders are already very public. Well, Bruno Letellier, Mitsubishi, 11th on the special and 12th overall, one of the enthusiastic amateurs. And this is Carlos Souza, a brilliant 13th on the special, 11th overall, still leading the T1 marathon category, standard cars. Miguel Prieto, Mitsubishi from Spain, and Johan von Karvenberger, Belgium for Toyota, 17th and 15th respectively. Philip Vonberg's Toyota, though, stopped. He's got problems. We find out what. Since the start of the rally, he told us we've had overheating problems. It's 10 times worse. The water's boiling up all the time. It's coming out of the radiator. Modifications haven't worked, so we're having to drive slowly. My co-driver's working on the car now for the second time in 150 kilometres. We just don't know what's wrong. Also problems. Maurizio Traglio, he's rolled. He was 9th this morning. The Nissan in big trouble.
Sì, abbiamo stallonato una ruota in
I wasn't paying attention, the Italian said.
Che non ho visto, evidentemente
broke a wheel,
ero solo al pensiero.
so we've got to change it.
Io, per cui sono entrato
I was
troppo
going too fast. The only thing now is I've got a bad back. I've really pulled my back.
Sul fianco, niente di particolarmente grave, comunque il problema è che io ho mal di schiena.
So Joan Lemos and Karin Dure, the Mitsubishi ladies team, 44th this morning. They're going like a train still. Very good performance indeed. And Johan Peter Reif Hino still leading the Hino trucks, 1, 2, 3. Quick look down the car lists. We find the overall rankings that Dick Partridge and Graham Parker from Ipswich in the Isuzu, 85th overall on the rally and still going well out of the 94 still running. Well, let's have a quick look now at the car rankings as we see the Hino going through the picture. Tatra completely out of the rally. Strugo taking that stage win. Great performance by him. Means there's now been 7 different winners of the car stages. Fontenay 3, Shinazuka 3, and Schlesser, Sabi, Kleinschmidt, Guedes and Strugo all taking 1 apiece. And at the top, of course, is a wonderful fight between Shinazuka, Fontenay and Sabi, all for Mitsubishi, and there's not that much in it, but look at that, Fontenay 45 seconds behind, but will Ulrich Bremer insist that Shinazuka wins? Masuoka and Kleinschmidt bringing up 4th and 5th. Well, tomorrow, special stage 12, Timbuktu, Mali to Neymar in Mauritania. Sandy tracks, great for bikes, harder for cars, and
the event so far, a lot of talk about team orders as we get back towards Dakar at the end of the rally. We speak to Ulrich Bremer, the boss of the Mitsubishi team, about those team orders later in the program. For the moment though, let's just cast our minds back to what happened yesterday. A difficult stage once again, a long stage, and a fastest time for the first time on the Dakar for Jean-Pierre Strugo. Strugo driving a T3 Mitsubishi, just beating the Thai rally champion Cyril Watanakan, who finished 2nd on the stage, and the Mitsubishis were taking things a little bit more steady. They were running together to look after one another. Jutta Kleinschmidt in the buggy was also travelling fairly close company to the Mitsubishis. Kleinschmidt had a good day yesterday, the German lady racer who competed on motorbikes in the Dakar some years ago and moved up to cars, now taking 5th place away from Salvador Servia. The fastest bike rider was Jimmy Lewis from California. Oscar Gallardo, number 17, the Spaniard on the Cagiva, in 3rd place overall. But it was Stefan Peter-Hansel who was just enjoying his 1.5-hour lead at this point.
Bon ben, nous revoilà.
This is Karin Dure, one of the girls aboard the Nissan Patrol, who are competing together on the event this year. Now, Karin Dure has a lot of experience in events of a tough nature such as this, and in fact, just a couple of years ago, she competed on the Tundra Raid, something we covered here on Eurosport that I even took part in myself, on snowmobiles going across the frozen wastelands of Norway and the north of Sweden. So Karin Dure here co-driving with Joanna Lemos, enjoying their experience on the Dakar this year. Let's join them for some of that experience on stage. Not the only girls on the event, but these two have been going well, running in 44th place overall in the car classification at the end of yesterday. We haven't seen the full list of results in yet, but these two girls certainly showing some of the guys how to do it.
back to the Dakar Rally with Mitsubishi Motors Corporation.
On with today's stage then, and from Mali into Mauritania for the first time on the event this year. They ran south of Mauritania on the way to Agadez, but on the way back to Dakar, we're into a new country. And so to the start of another stage this morning. 13 days into the event, and still the early starts for all of the competitors. By this time, perhaps even the most enthusiastic of riders and competitors are beginning to find it hard work. The ever-cheerful Hubert Auriol, the organiser, though, keeping a watchful eye on things as Jordi Arcaron set off this morning. Jordi Arcaron has been running second on the most part of this rally after we lost the likes of Heinz Gardner early on in the event, but it was not going to be a good day for the Spaniard today. Good day for David Castera, the second of the Yamahas, and backing up Stefan Pederhansel, very much playing the support role to this man who's had the lead of the event right from the opening stage. But that disaster for Arcaron's. In the foreground you can see the dog that the Spaniard so unfortunately hit. This happened about 10 kilometers after the first checkpoint on today's stage, and Arcaron's was actually knocked unconscious for around 5 minutes after the accident happened, but sadly it means the end of the rally for him. Hubert Auriol there on hand as ever to try and look after the medical side of things. The 34-year-old, based near Barcelona, comes from a farming background, but what success we've seen from him in recent years. Another Spaniard, in fact, slowing down to see what help he could lend. Carlos Sotelo, who's running in 13th place overall, and a close companion of Jordi Arcaron's, obviously concerned to see his mate lying by the wayside. And Arcaron's has had such a strong run of good results in the Dakar in recent years. He's in fact been on the podium every year since 1991. But of course this year that is not going to happen. He says, I don't remember anything. So the helicopter on hand to take him away to the nearest hospital. And Arcaron's talking a little bit more about it. He says, there was a dog that came out in front of me and I just couldn't avoid it. I fell off, but now I feel all right. I've not broken anything. And I hope I can recover straight away. And Hubert Auriol saying, it's the race, unfortunately, that's just racing, we can't do anything. I think he had a great event up until now. Sadly, he has an opponent, a man from another world called Stefan Pederhansel. He's a really good rider, and I'm just upset that it's finished like this for Arcaron's. So the sad sight of Jordi Arcaron's KTM being winched away to finish his challenge on this year's Dakar. He's been runner-up the last 3 years. Is he ever going to win the event? Well, sadly, it's not going to be in 1997. Back with some of the other riders, though, today, and the American Jimmy Lewis, who set the fastest time yesterday. An excellent effort from the Californian. He was 11th fastest today, lost some 40 minutes. He came off a few times.
It happens, but I'm not so happy about it.
You're losing lots of time today?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how much. Maybe I worked on the bike for 20 minutes at least, and then I had to ride slow because every time I hit a bump, the gas goes in the air filter and it stops.
It was a boring stage for you?
Yeah, well, it had a lot of excitement because of the crashing, but that's not the kind of excitement I want to have.
In fact, Jimmy Lewis had 3 falls today, and the problem he was talking about there was as a result of one of the falls, the petrol tank got damaged, so he had to transfer fuel from one tank to another. They run 3 separate fuel tanks on these big motorcycles to try and get them to cover as much ground as possible between the refueling halts. But Jimmy Lewis not having such a good day today. David Castera, we saw a moment ago, and Oscar Gallardo here, 3rd fastest today, and now moving up into 2nd place overall with Jordi Arcaron's retirement.
Esta pista es buena para mi moto.
And Gallardo talking us through a little bit of the stage today. Quite narrow in places and on some of the very, very soft sand, the fesh. The sand very, very fine indeed, more like talcum powder than the sand we might think of on our beaches. And Gallardo having to cope with that along with all the other riders and drivers today.
entonces en el kilómetro 449 que tengo que ir a la derecha. Debo estar atento porque un despiste de esos te hace perder mucho tiempo.
So Gallardo keeping up the Spanish hopes as he arrived at one of the refueling halts a little bit later on. And making sure it was petrol going in there rather than kerosene, which is what happened to some of them yesterday. Gallardo saying, yes, Jordi's come off. I don't know if he's been hurt or if he can continue. I only heard about it a moment ago. And Peter Hansel talking about it as well, saying it's very sad because Jordi had a good race. He's been intelligent, he's not taken unnecessary risks, and now it looks as though it's all over because of a stray dog. Very sad. So Peter Hansel, sympathy for Jordi Arcarons, but the rally continues for him as it does for everybody else. Just referring back to that problem with refueling yesterday, Britain's John Deacon was one of those affected. They actually filled his tanks up with aircraft kerosene until some of the other competitors realised, and they managed to drain it out, thankfully, and get some proper fuel aboard, and he didn't lose too much time because of it. On board here with Jean Brucy, who's running very well in the experimental class on the motorbikes. And he says you've got to watch out for these little holes everywhere. As you can see, all too easy to be caught out. He says the front forks are really taking a bashing on this terrain. Well, the Dakar is something else. Jean Brucy continuing 11th place overall for the Frenchman at the moment. So through towards the end of the stage, and Stefan Peter Hansel maintaining that very comfortable lead today. In the first kilometres, I tried to take into account that the stage would be very hard going and very technical. It has not been an easy day for anybody today. Indeed, some of the riders and drivers saying it's the hardest stage of the rally so far, and that's certainly saying something, considering what we've seen already. A little bit of surprise as Peter Hansel chats to Castera, where they'd seen Jimmy Lewis off in the previous village. But both of these two surviving a 1-2 result for Yamaha today on this stage. Just confirmation of that, 3 minutes 50 seconds only separating the two of them. David Castera doing a good job today. He's actually the son of one of Hubert Auriol's former mechanics. Remember, Auriol was a bike racer himself, won the Dakar twice. One of his mechanics' boys, that's David Castera, and what a great job he's doing to back up Stefan Peter Hansel there today. In the overall positions, a 2.5-hour lead for Stefan Peter Hansel. By the way, John Deacon, the Plymouth bike dealer, is now 17th. He's going really well. Adrian Lappin from Ireland is in 44th, and Richard Fair is 57th. The other two Irishmen, unfortunately, out of the rally. Back to the Dakar as we make our way back towards Senegal. The terrain changes once again. Some more beautiful images from this part of northwestern Africa. Wonderful variety in this part of Africa, and once again we're seeing greenery accompanied by sand and desert. And back to the car battle itself, and it's all about Mitsubishi, of course, as it has been really for all of the 2 weeks. Once we lost Jean-Louis Schlesser out of the event when he rolled dramatically on the 5th day and put himself out, well, since then we've really just seen Mitsubishi dominating proceedings, and it was much the same situation once again today. The three Mitsubishis being careful, not doing anything silly. They want to get all three cars back to Dakar safely. Jean-Pierre Strugo here was fastest yesterday with the number 216 machine, and again going fairly well today.
c'est assez roulant, sablonneux.
We can hear from on board with Strugo, and he's saying it's going okay, it's working well.
Le problème, c'est qu'on est un peu
The only problem is that we're
essence,
carrying quite a lot of
comme l'étape est longue, on a
petrol.
300 litres d'essence.
This is a long stage.
La voiture est un peu chargée, ce qui fait qu'elle talonne dans
Car
les...
running quite heavy. We have some 300 litres on board. So the car tends to stick in the ruts and the dips.
En troisième.
We're doing 110 kilometers per hour in third gear, now up into fourth.
Coup de 4.
Strugo going well then at that fastest time yesterday, giving him a little boost. His first fastest time on the event, in fact, in some 10 times that he's been doing the Dakar. Sousa still leading in the T1 class for Mitsubishi as well, but Salvador Servia, he lost 5th place yesterday with some overheating troubles with his Nissan. That place going to Jutta Kleinschmidt instead. The Nissan team still going strong, entered by Andre de Soud, who brought some 15 Nissans to the Dakar event this year, but with 3 or 4 of them being the full works efforts. And just look at the sand here being thrown up by Jutta Kleinschmidt's buggy. That gives you some idea of the soft sand, this talcum powder-like sand, the fesh that they were in here today. And of course, if you get stuck behind somebody in that, then you really are struggling to see where you're going. Kleinschmidt going superbly well at the moment, the only remaining Schlesser buggy in the event for the German girl, of course, and Jean-Louis Schlesser still on the event, following up behind in a support role now to make sure that she makes it through to the end. Problems for Bruno Sabi, though, today. He got himself a little bit off track and down into that soft sand, and Jean-Pierre Fontenay, his teammate, coming along to see if he could lend a hand and get his fellow Frenchman out of trouble. Shinazuka at this point running slightly separately to these two, and Fontenay saying, well, I can lend you a hand, but I just need to get the car into a suitable position to be able to help pull you out of this trouble. Interestingly, yesterday when they were going through all the camel grass, which is a bit of a problem for the car, sometimes it gets up underneath into the axles and wraps itself around the internals of the cars. Interesting to note that they actually put Shinazuka in between these two running through the camel grass, so that he hopefully would have a path cleared for him by the first one, and somebody behind him to pick up the pieces if anything went wrong. It's very much Shinazuka who's being concentrated on now as the event winner by the Mitsubishi team. But Sabi out of trouble there, thanks to the assistance from Fontenay. This is Kenjiro Shinazuka, the 47-year-old Japanese driver who looks set now to win the Dakar if all goes according to plan. Fontenay and Sabi now in their backup roles effectively. It looks as though team orders have been decided, and it's the Japanese driver who's going to be given the chance to take victory. Masuoka there in 4th place. Mitsubishi's in fact running the top 4 places, and it really is going extremely well for them. Fontenay, the little minor stop for him today, but no major problems. No major problems at all for any of those Mitsubishis running up at the front today.
Moi, j'ai vraiment pris beaucoup de plaisir aujourd'hui parce que
Fontenay saying, I'm really had a lot of fun today because it was a superb special stage. Everybody said that yesterday would be the really difficult one, but in fact it was today. Difficult but fun. We were okay. We had an electrical problem just before the finish, which made us a little late, but otherwise it was really good.
Mais sinon, c'était vraiment bien.
So Shinazuka maintaining the overall lead of the event, but some 22 seconds now. And meanwhile, further behind him, another winner from the other day, Duarte Guedes, in another of the Nissans, just talking about how careful you have to be to drive on this sort of terrain. On these narrow tracks, you have to sense the way it's going, look for those bumps and dips, and try and understand the obstacles and problems that can occur as you drive. So some pretty dramatic pictures from today's special stage. One of the toughest of the event so far, but in the car section, no major dramas. So at the end of some more sunny pictures into your sitting rooms, Jean-Pierre Fontenay still fastest today over Shinozuka and Sabi, but they're all running very, very close together, which maintained Shinozuka's lead overall on the event. Just to let you know, although we don't have the full results in today, from yesterday, Formula 1 driver Philippe Alliot was still in 14th position, and another former Grand Prix star and Le Mans star, Henri Pescarolo, was in 31st, whilst Britain's Dick Partridge finished yesterday's stage in 87th place. He's still going, he's still looking for his first finish in Dakar on his 5th attempt.
If we fight until last day together, we will not have this friendship anymore and the team will not exist anymore. So we absolutely want to maintain three things. 3 cars on the podium. Now we decided that this Kenjiro, that is in some way also a return of investment, because Mitsubishi since 15 years gave us confidence, a lot of money. We didn't win all the time. Sometimes we won, sometimes we had a triumph like in Cape Town. But we think this year is really the year of Kenjiro Shinozuka. We were really surprised about his performance in this race. Today again, he finished together with Fontenay in a few seconds. So he is for me the man of this rally.
Fontenay, though, has also been very fast. Is it not time that he had a Dakar win?
Yes. I think he has a little bit more time to win a Dakar. He is absolutely capable, as Bruno Sabi, to win a Dakar. But for this time, I think the growing man was Shinozuka, even so he already had 10 Dakars. And we were really surprised about his performance. We decided a Crown Prince, and that's all for the moment, not the ministers yet.
It's sad, but I think in a way we were sure that it would be a Mitsubishi who would win this year. And if it's like that, I suppose the decision comes from Tokyo, from Mitsubishi Corporation. What I think is the other drivers made all a beautiful race, and of course it's sad, especially when you see the gap between, let's say, Shino and Fontenay. As an organizer, I have no preference. But I'd like that the race goes up to Saint-Louis, to even to the Lac Rose. And if it's only that which is decided today, we'll see later.
So discussions there about the team orders being introduced for the Mitsubishi team, but they've still got to get through to the finish in Dakar. A chance for us to have a quick look at the trucks. There hasn't been much change in the lead. Johan Peter Reif is still the leader of the big trucks. The Hino, the 8-litre engined Hino, still leading. In fact, it's a Hino 1, 2, 3 at the moment. And for the gentleman who came along to me at the Autosports International show at the weekend and said we didn't show enough trucks, well, let's just enjoy some of the pictures of these big wagons going across the desert. No result words, and with Dakar almost in view now, it was a fastest time for a new boy on the event today in the motorbike section. Frenchman Eric Bernard, his first ever Dakar, and he set the pace today, to be followed by others. Carlos Sotelo was second fastest today on the big heavy Cagiva. He had bad luck 5 days into the event though, so he's quite a long way down in the overall standings. No change for the overall leader though. Stefan Peter-Hansel still in command of this rally, still looking for that 5th Dakar victory. In the cars today, another first-time winner. This time it was the Japanese driver Masuoka, with his Mitsubishi Challenger set the fastest time just 19 seconds ahead of Jutta Kleinschmidt. But overall, it's still Kenjiro Shinozuka who is the overall leader by some 5 minutes. In the trucks is Johan Peter Reif leading the truck class and lying in 28th place overall in the cars and trucks together. Let's just look back to yesterday, because there was dramatic news when we saw the demise of Jordi Arcarons. Unfortunately, Arcarons hit a dog just a little way into the long stage yesterday. Carlos Sotelo stopped off to see how his friend was doing, and in fact Jordi Arcarons was concussed for around 5 minutes, but although fairly heavily bruised, thankfully nothing was broken. He was helicoptered away to the medical centre, but thankfully okay. The dog, well, unfortunately that died, but it died very instantly. Didn't know much about it when Arcarons hit him. But another favourite amongst the bike riders out of the rally. Peter Hansel and David Castera here, the two Yamaha riders, setting the pace of yesterday's stage, a 1-2 for Yamaha. And Kleinschmidt, Jutta Kleinschmidt, had a good day in the buggy. She was 4th on the stage and still lying in 5th place overall. Two of the Mitsubishis were helping each other out as Bruno Sabi got a little stuck in the very, very soft sand, but Jean-Pierre Fontenay was on hand to help him out. And Kenjiro Shinozuka maintained his overall lead as called for by the team manager.
This year is really the year of Kenjiro Shinozuka. We were really surprised about his performance in this race. Today again, he finished together with Fontenay in a few seconds. So he is, for me, the man of this rally.
The Crown Prince, as Ulrich Bremer has called him. Shinozuka here, the man who's likely to win now if everything holds together. But how do the other members of the team feel about it? First, his co-driver, Henri Magne.
Jean-Pierre and us, always fighting. So, Jean-Pierre is still young. He has a chance next year, and I don't know. Anyway, he has a chance. He's a quite good driver. And I'm too old now.
And you're saying it's not an easy decision to take, but since the beginning of the race, for about 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers, we've all been very, very close, split by only a few seconds. Jean-Pierre Fontenay, Bruno Sabi and us. We could go on fighting like that, but it's not really a great thing. Or we can take a decision and decide who's going to take the victory. So a decision's been taken. I'm very happy, obviously, because I've been chosen, but any one of us could have won. When you're part of an official team, a works team, then you know that team orders can be part of that. It's better to accept them. If not, then you can't continue to do a job like this. Perhaps another time I'll have my chance. I prefer to have a decision like that and to be able to continue the event. And Jean-Pierre Fontenay, are you sad? Well, yeah, I suppose I'm a little sad, he said. But it's great that we can all arrive in the top 3 places at Dakar. I'd love to be first, of course, but I can say that because they're my friends. And who knows, on the next Dakar, perhaps I'll take the victory. So Jean-Pierre Fontenay there, the man who perhaps would have been able to struggle his way to take the win if team orders hadn't been brought in, but it will be Kenjiro Shinozuka that he's supporting to the finish in Dakar. The Mitsubishi still running the top 3 places.